It's almost the big day. The day when we remember the most incredible baby ever born. Christmas time. We all know the story, don't we? There's an angel, there's Mary, there's Joseph, there are shepherds, there's a heavenly host, there are kings, and then there's the baby Jesus. It's kind of magical, isn't it? But it's also a story about real people in real life. And real life can often be a bit messy and a bit complicated. And I suppose I've kind of got to wondering about what it was really like for Mary becoming a mother for the first time. In fact, I wonder what it's like for anyone becoming a mum for the first time. So I decided we would do some investigation, and we've sent our special reporter to the Lady Chapel at St Anne's Church to find out from the people who know. Well, hello there. I've come down here to the Lady Chapel at St Anne's Church to find out what it was really like to be a mother for the first time. So tell us, what was it like being pregnant on that first occasion?
Well, I was 35 when I became a mum for the first time, which obviously was regarded as quite old. It did take a long time to become a mum. And I think looking back, I didn't really have any expectation because a lot of the time I kind of felt a bit like it was happening to someone else because it had taken so long to happen.
I was excited. I was quite young, so I was a bit kind of worry of judgment, I suppose.
Well, I wasn't happy about being pregnant because it wasn't really planned. No, they sent me to Kent and I used to come along the Romney Marsh, which is big marshes full of sheep and stuff. And I was in labour and I was frightened silly with all these businessmen and commuters that I'd go into labour with all the sheep in the marshes and stuff. They'd have to stop the train.
The first time I was pregnant, I took it very seriously. I was very nervous. I followed everything by the book. I didn't drink any wine. I didn't eat any cheese. I meditated.
I was working as a nurse and we were lucky enough to get pregnant, and then we thought we'd lost her. I spent some time in hospital. Anyway, carried on, and I was worried quite a lot of the time because every time I'd gone near anybody else's baby, be it on the children's ward or my friends' babies, they'd cried.
1961. She was born in July in Norfolk, and I was determined to have my first baby at home.
So Mary, lovely to have you with us.
Thank you.
I wonder if you would just tell us, what was it like being pregnant for the first time?
Well, I mean, I was really, really young, just a young girl really. And me and Joe, we were engaged, and well, then an angel appeared and told me I was going to have a baby. I thought he was kidding, but before I knew it, there was morning sickness, swollen legs, sleepless nights, clothes that looked like a circus and just got bigger and bigger. I mean, I felt special, but I was really, really worried about telling Joe. He was raging, absolutely livid at first, and he threatened to dump me. I thought I was going to be left alone, and that was pretty scary. But he calmed down in time. Then one day he came home and said we all had to go to Bethlehem. I wasn't up for that at all. I flat refused. His family are from there, and they were horrid to me when we told them I was pregnant. But Joe just looked at me and said we had no choice. A government census had been called and we had to go and register there. So we set off to Bethlehem, and Joseph said he'd managed to borrow a donkey I could sit on. A donkey? But it was all right, it was fine. I thought he was off his head. How he thought an 8.5-month pregnant woman was going to climb on a donkey is beyond me.
And what about the delivery?
That's all a blur. I don't really remember a huge amount about it other than it took a very long time.
It was quite traumatic. We ended up needing forceps to get him out. But yeah, everything was fine, and I was very open to them just getting him out. I just wanted him out safe.
She was a breech, and it was decided because I was a redhead that I would bleed, so they were going to take me to theatre to have the baby. A theatre that my husband had worked in, and all my contemporaries were in the theatre at the time, so it was a bit like a family party until she arrived safely
We nipped up to the pub on the Sunday, and I thought my waters had broken. So I went and found my husband, and he was in another pub, and he said, sit down. I was like, I can't. So that was. Then last orders were called, and he decided we better get a cab home. So he asked for the landlord to ring the cab, because it was before mobile phone days. And so he shouts, Gill's in labour. So the whole pub was shouting, hey! So when the cab came, I left the pub with everyone cheering me, and good luck, well done, all to Lawrence, not me. So off we go. I heard you can be in there a long time and food's not so good, so we had a Sunday lunch before we went. I get to hospital, I'm being sick all the time in the hospital, and they always go, isn't it funny, there's always carrots and you're sick? Well, the workers, we just had Sunday lunch. And can I say something? The lady was getting me ready, the nurse was getting me ready to go in to check me out, and she said, can you take your pants off, please? And he goes, oh, I'm out of here. And she said, shame you didn't say that 9 months ago.
My first little girl was breech, which means she was upside down. Her bottom was at the bottom instead of her head. And I stood on my head in a swimming pool to try and turn her around, because I wanted to have the perfect birth. So I wanted her to turn to be the right way around. So yeah, I did somersaults. I went down the stairs on my hands and knees, all these things they recommend you to do to try and turn a baby. I burnt little bits of charcoal by my little toes for Chinese therapy. So I spent the whole 9 months trying to do everything right to get it perfect.
Well, when I was in labour, we lived in this old manse, and there was a big field at the back, and there was a beautiful Jersey herd, beautiful cattle in there. And one of them was in labour at the same time as me. And she was mooing away, not a very happy cow. And I was, well, I won't say swearing, but I was groaning away, if you like, and saying to her, well, love, we'll soon be out of this together, won't we?
The delivery, well, I was exhausted when we got to Bethlehem. Can you imagine having been on a donkey for that long? The contraction started, and I told Joe he needed to get me to his family quick because the baby was coming. Joe just looked blank, and I realised he hadn't told them we were coming. Worse than that, he hadn't bothered to book anywhere for us to stay. He said, maybe we could stay in a hotel. But the hotels were full, the B&Bs were full, the campsites were full, even Airbnb was full. There was nowhere to stay, but a kind old innkeeper took pity and offered us a stable. It was a bit stinky and there were animals everywhere, but it was dry. His wife brought hot water and towels. She and some other locals, I don't even know their names, were my midwives. So I had the baby there in the stable. The Son of God was born surrounded by strangers and animals. And we called him Jesus, just like the angel told us to.
What was it like becoming a mum?
Elated. I was so happy. There's no feeling like it. There's no feeling in the world like holding your baby for the first time.
I'd actually blocked out that I was pregnant, really. And so when this did happen, it was quite crazy, so I hadn't even thought about it.
It was a feeling of overwhelming love, I suppose, and also fear, because I'm not the sweetest tempered person, and I wondered if I'd have enough patience.
She was fine. I got given her. I was still pretty groggy because I'd had an epidural, but she was lovely, perfect, just over 6 pounds. Yeah, great, very lucky. No, I was in hospital for 10 days with her, looking after her, and then went home to Gordon and no family help because we were in the Air Force and there was no family around.
Because it was a section birth, I was quite drugged up and quite sleepy, so it was all quite dream-like almost, but she was tiny. She was 6 pounds, tiny little blue, her little hands and feet were blue like a little smurf. She was beautiful, but just so wee and so wrinkly, and so it was terrifying. This minute, vulnerable, precious little thing.
Well, I mean, it was really amazing actually how kind people were. And I forgot all about the awful journey and the pain and people judging me. He was a tiny little miracle. I can still picture him there in my arms, and he was so, so beautiful. Joe stood there smiling, proud as punch, and we were inundated with visitors. People we didn't even know kept arriving. There were shepherds who told us a heavenly choir sang the very moment he was born. And there were wise men with gifts, the strangest gifts you could imagine: gold, frankincense and myrrh. Nappies and clothes would have been more useful, but they said their gifts were what was fitting for a king.
And did you have a sense of God being with you?
I had a sense of no one being with me. No, I didn't get any spiritual feelings with it at all, because it was just so surreal to me.
Yeah, there has. My granny is very religious, and I suppose you do talk to him sometimes when you are a bit worried, or when there are fears, or even when you're ecstatic about things as well. So yeah, there was definitely a feeling that he was there. Here he is. This is Eben. This is my oldest. He is about to be 13. So yeah, 13 years of being a mum, and I wouldn't replace it for anything. This is Quinn. She is 10, and 10 years ago this year she was baby Jesus at St Anne's at their service, and I was Mary, wasn't I? And my brother was actually Joseph.
So all these things are happening to your body and to your life, and as much as you try to make everything work, you're not in control of any of it. And so it does kind of feel like those times when you let God take over and you let go and everything works, and God's in charge of that, and your body's in charge of that, and it is like a miracle.
Well, I was very aware that I had prayed for a safe time and actually prayed for a baby girl. And I just felt God was with me.
Met a lovely lady, lovely girl as she was at the time, who was at the church, and she and I just looked after each other, looked after each other's babies, and just are still friends, and we still see each other, and that was truly heaven sent. Yeah, that's about it really. The faith was, when I thought I was going to lose the baby, it was always, if she's meant to be, she's like, cute, no, it's all right. With the baby, when I thought I was going to lose her, then it was always, if she's meant to be, she'll happen and she'll be all right. And she is all right, and she's been fine, and then gone on to have 2 children of her own. But, when you've got a faith, it's kind of walking along, oh, good Lord, I'm so useless. It's like walking alongside you. You don't think about it, it's just there. You feel protected, I suppose.
I've always believed in God, but it was so surreal. I mean, angels, shepherds, heavenly hosts. You couldn't make it up, could you? Yet the most incredible thing of all was that tiny little bundle. As soon as it was placed in my arms, I knew that everything the angel had told me, everything God had promised, was true. I knew that it wasn't going to be easy, but I knew that God was with me. I was his mum, and he was love.